When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This content may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion advised.
I ran to the train station and hid behind a vending machine until I felt safe. That's when I burst into tears.
As I shut the car door, I took one last look at the figure, and my heart stopped.
And then suddenly, he turned back, and you should have seen like the look on his face, like his eyes turned dark.
From killer podcasts, true tales of horror, bizarre happenings, unexplainable events. This is Disturbed. Hello, and welcome back to the show. This week, we're bringing you 4 stories that will raise the hairs on the back of your neck. So sit back, listen closely, and dive into the horror. First, a story narrated by Jhas Williams from Reddit user SensitiveGazelle790. Never board an empty bus.
This story happened to me in 2022 when I was 24 years old. At the time, I was studying in Paris, renting a room in my boyfriend's mom's house. Her house was more than an hour from Paris, but just 20 minutes from Versailles. It was winter, during a school break, I think, and I was going out in Paris to see a longtime internet friend for the first time. Well, she turned out to be really toxic and problematic, so I'm no longer in contact with her, but this story's not really about her. Our meetup went really well, but I had to leave before midnight because public transportation was kind of scarce after 10 p.m. I was planning to go to my boyfriend's place, which would take about 2 hours to reach by public transit. Unfortunately, I didn't leave early enough. I managed to get on the train to Versailles, but after that, I had to wait almost an hour for a bus to get to my boyfriend's city. Now, for a bit of context, I am non-binary, assigned female at birth. But let's just say I look very feminine. I have kind of a petite frame because of an eating disorder that I was dealing with ever since childhood, and I've always looked much younger than my age. On this particular night, I was dressed casually, and I was wearing a skirt. While I was waiting near the train station, I noticed a group of bus drivers who were smoking and chatting. So I approached them and asked which one of them was going to drive the bus to my boyfriend's city. A small middle-aged man with gray hair told me he'd be driving. He noticed my skirt and said I must be freezing, so he offered to let me wait in the warm bus until the time of departure. I gladly accepted because I really was freezing. The bus was parked in a really dark corner with no lights. While he was walking me there, he got very close to me and started acting too familiar, asking me where I lived, where I was going, and so on. I felt uneasy, but I was raised to be polite, and I've always been a people pleaser, so I answered all his questions with as few details as possible. When we reached the bus, he opened the door for me. My instincts were screaming at me not to get on that bus, but I ignored them and I got on anyway. I sat at the front of the bus where there was a small amount of light. Now, I'm black, so in the darkness, it would have been difficult for anyone outside to see me, and no one other than the bus drivers really knew I was there. But the second I got on the bus, things got even weirder. The guy threw his lit cigarette away and got on the bus with me too. He started telling me a bunch of anecdotes about the bus and how it was designed to transport the French football team and how there was a huge table and even a bathroom in the back and that I should go back there with him to see it. He suggested twice that I go in the back of the bus where there was absolutely no light. This scared me even more, so I texted my boyfriend, "Might not come tonight. Weird bus driver. Call me ASAP." The driver then turned to the front of the bus and stood in the aisle, blocking my way. Now, the entire time he was talking about random things while his eyes were just fixed on me. He kept staring at the phone in my hand or at my knees and my thighs, and the whole time, I was praying that my boyfriend would see my message and call me. When he finally did, I breathed a sigh of relief. The driver must have seen my boyfriend's photo on the screen because he took a step back and told me he was going to smoke another cigarette outside. I answered my phone and told my boyfriend everything that was going on while looking out the window to keep an eye on the driver. When he was far enough away, I ran to the bus door only to discover in shock and horror that he had locked the door. I was trapped. Still on the phone with my boyfriend, I went back to my seat and saw through the window that the creepy bus driver was coming back. And when he saw me on the phone, he left, locking the bus again. He repeated this back and forth, twice more, locking the bus behind him every time. And the last time, he stayed near the bus. So I just hung up the phone and started texting my boyfriend instead. Eventually, I saw an elderly woman approach the driver. I heard her ask him if the bus was going to the city I was headed to, and he deliberately lied to her, telling her it would be a different bus. Now, at this point, I was freaking out. I was frantically texting my boyfriend that I was going to die and that the bus driver would do terrible things to me and then kill me and throw away my body. It was at this moment that the driver came back into the bus, locking the door again. We were supposed to leave in less than 10 minutes, and something finally snapped in my brain. I got up, trying to maintain a calm appearance, and I just lied that I needed to go back to the train station to go to the bathroom. He said that there was a bathroom on the bus, so I lied again, saying that I needed some snacks from the vending machine. He hesitated and then pretended that the button to open the door wasn't working. At this point, I no longer cared about hiding my distress. I told him if he couldn't open the door, I grabbed the emergency hammer to break the door open. And suddenly, the door was working again. I bolted out of the bus, took the deepest breath of cold, fresh winter air I ever had taken in my life. I mean, I had never been to prison, but I imagined that's how it feels to be released from prison. I ran to the train station and hid behind a vending machine until I felt safe. That's when I burst into tears. I called my boyfriend back, and he said he called his sister who lived in Versailles, and her boyfriend would be able to come and pick me up. As I was trying to calm myself down, guess who I saw coming into the train station? The creepy bus driver. He was looking around, trying to find me. I held my breath, just waiting for him to leave. As soon as I did, I cried some more because I fully realized that I was his prey, and I was right about his bad intentions. Well, finally, my ride arrived at the station and drove me back to my house. I couldn't sleep that night, and my insomnia really worsened over the following nights. But I did report the driver to the bus company, and apparently, he wasn't one of their usual drivers, so nothing was done. I never even received any other answer from them. I'm just grateful for everyone who helped me that night. I know it's been said many times before, but let me say it again. Trust your gut. Trust your instinct. They're never wrong. Also, fuck being polite with creeps that make you feel unsafe.
Our next story was submitted by disturbed listener Jenna Lee. If you'd like to submit your own true horror story, head to disturbedpodcast.com/submit. A strange sighting in my neighborhood. Narrated by Kat Carter.
I am still weirded out whenever I tell this story, which isn't very often, because in my culture, this sort of thing is taboo. I am Native American, and I was always taught to respect all entities, including spirits. But when it comes to spirits, we can feel which ones are there to help us and which ones are malignant. In 2017, I enrolled in culinary school so that I could be taken seriously at work and move up in the cooking business. I'd been working at a steakhouse for about 5 years at this point, and I felt I deserved a higher position with more responsibility. The reason I mention this is because the nearest college with a culinary program is about 65 miles away from where I live. My job at the time was an equal distance from the college and also from where I live. Between driving to school during the day, then to work at night shift, and then back home after close, my total daily commute was about 3 hours. The evening of the sighting was just another regular night of cooking on the line, or so I thought. My supervisor came up to me and asked if I would stay late to help cook for a private party. Any customer could request late-night private parties if they spent enough money. The steakhouse was at a casino on my reservation, and the customer is always right. I told my supervisor I couldn't stay because I had school the next day. He replied, "That's not my problem. You'll learn more with the experience you get here." I just rolled my eyes and accepted that it would be a late night. The party was fed, and we let them sit, drink, and bullshit for another couple hours. I ended my shift at 4 a.m. that night, but the overtime was actually worth it. I started my drive home and realized I was way more tired than usual. I kept the music loud and opened the window every once in a while because it was below -10 degrees that night. I didn't know if it was because I was so tired, but this drive seemed to last for multiple hours instead of just one. It was getting harder and harder to stay awake the closer I got to home. Even the cold air wasn't helping enough. Finally, I turned onto the road that led to my town. The speed limit is 30, but it felt like my car was crawling. When I turned onto my street, I immediately noticed the strange darkness. My street was always lit up with 15-foot silver light poles on each side, but tonight they were all off, except for the first two. I don't know why, but my instinct told me to look to my right. So I did. There, hanging onto the pole, was a person. They were hugging the pole, like a bear does, when climbing a tree. My adrenaline kicked in and I was immediately wide awake. I slowly drove past, just staring at this person clinging to the light pole. They didn't move, and I couldn't make out a face, just a dark figure. As I crept down the street, I watched in my rearview mirror to see if they would move. Who knows how long they'd been hanging there? And their arms and legs had to be tired, right? No movement at all. I finally pulled into my driveway, and down the street I could still see the figure just hanging there. I looked away for a moment to grab my purse and get out of my car. As I shut the car door, I took one last look at the figure, and my heart stopped. It was gone. You'd think that I would be relieved or even confused, but I was petrified that the figure had somehow followed me down the street to my house and was now waiting for me. I bolted to my front door. I was trying to fish my keys out of my bag as fast as I could, but wasn't having any luck. I was so scared because I knew I was taking too fucking long to find these keys. I finally found them, unlocked the door, and rushed inside. I shut the door behind me and locked it, making sure not to make any noise so I wouldn't wake up my kids and scare them. After standing there for a bit, I just went to bed, too exhausted to try to comprehend what I had witnessed. I didn't want to think about it anymore, but it has literally been on my mind ever since, even to this day. Of course, no one was there the next day. I never saw it again. I did, however, change jobs and quit school a few months after that, so I wasn't driving that early in the morning ever again. I just hope I never see anything like that again. Seeing something so strange and having no explanation for it, yeah, that chilled me to the bone.
You're listening to Disturbed. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the podcast. Our next story is narrated by Dan Groh. My optometrist looked a little too deeply into my eyes.
This happened a long time ago when I was about 19 years old. I had just moved from New Mexico to California and was residing in the San Diego area. I got a job at a grocery store, and there was an eye doctor's office close by. I started seeing this eye doctor for contact lenses and glasses. My eyesight has always been extremely bad, so I have to see an optometrist often to get my refills and things. I don't know if I overreacted, but to this day, this experience still pops into my head from time to time and creeps me out. I think it was my third visit to this office when I got an eye exam. The doctor looked a lot like the actor Lawrence R. Harvey from The Human Centipede 2, a fat older bald guy with piercing eyes. I sat down in the exam chair and he rolled up to me on his wheeled stool. He placed the phoropter device on my face and had me lean forward, just like in any eye exam. He started making small talk, asking how old I was, what I did for work, and so on. As he was talking to me, I started noticing that he was getting really close, which made me uncomfortable. Then, he started placing his free hand on my thigh and just leaving it there. At one point, I said something, I don't remember what, and his response was, "Oh, I see. Very good. Well, you're a handsome guy, so that's not surprising." After the exam, I booked my next appointment with the woman at the front desk, then headed home. Later that week, I got a text message from an unfamiliar number notifying me that my contact lenses were ready for pickup. I assumed it was the office number, so I just said, okay, thanks. Then I got a text back saying, "So, what are your plans this weekend? Would you like to come over and play pool? I also have a swimming pool." I felt weirded out, so I replied, "No thanks." Let's just say, I never went back to that doctor's office.
Our final story is a voicemail submitted by listener Ildiko about a terrifying encounter in Edinburgh.
Hi there. So I'm listening from the UK and I've only just recently found your podcast actually, but I really enjoy it. I try and listen to it whenever I can, but I've got a baby and a toddler, so it's really hard. And I'm trying to catch up with all your old episodes too. And I've got a story that I thought I might send in. I'm not sure whether it's spooky enough. It happened a long time ago, and it was actually in Edinburgh in Scotland where I was living at the time. So I guess a lot of people are expecting scary ghost story or something, but it was actually a human being, nothing paranormal. But to be fair, ever since I was a child, I was more afraid of what humans are capable of and burglars or being raped rather than ghosts or any other entities. So I also want to add that I'm not like a lot of girls who send in their stories and they highlight that they are these petite girls. I'm actually very sporty. I'm athletic and tall. I've always been into martial arts. I started with karate back in primary school, and then I was doing Thai boxing. I was doing MMA. I used to actually be a grappling champion in Spain in one of the regions when I lived there. So I wouldn't say that what happened to me is because I was an easy target. But probably the reason why I'm sending in this story is because I think I had a false sense of security. I thought that maybe because I've got a bit of knowledge of how to defend myself and because I'm not a petite physique girl, it's probably okay to do things that these girls would never dare do. And I think I've done a lot of stupid things when I was younger when it comes to night safety. I also grew up in Hungary, in Budapest, which is a really big city, and it's full of nightlife and dangers. And I guess I was never really aware of my environment before, up until this has happened in 2016. I tried to also look good for my then boyfriend, but actually I was already halfway out of that relationship. I moved to China just a couple of months after that this has happened. And it was already something that I had planned that I'm going to be doing, regardless of the fact that he's not going to come with me. So we kind of knew that the relationship is going to end, but we were still together. And I guess he was a bit hurt because of this. So on the party, he made some remark, something like, I don't feel like kissing you, or something silly, which is like, you know, when you've done all this effort to look nice and you're there, it was just really humiliating and embarrassing. So I said, oh, really, if that's how you feel, then why would I be here with all these people that I don't know and I don't care about? So I just left, and I was really upset. I was crying, and I didn't even really know where I was up until I've realized that there is this canal nearby to the party, and this was daylight. It wasn't getting dark yet, but it was late in the afternoon. And this canal is not somewhere where I would ever feel unsafe before. It's along a body of water, and then on the other side there's bushes. But I've been there many times before. I actually used to work at a retail park that was along the way on this canal. So that was one way where like I knew where this goes. I know how can I get home from here. So I was like, let's just go there. I don't know. I wasn't even thinking. So I started walking along this canal while still upset and crying when this guy just passed me on a bike. And I didn't even, take a look or anything, because it was just someone, passing by, until he actually stopped. Like he saw me, he looked at me, he saw, a lady in distress. But let me tell you, this guy was like kind of like a junkie. He was, not scary when I looked at him, as in he was probably shorter than me, rather skinny, but he looked like someone who's just been drinking, probably I don't remember, it was a long time ago, but like teeth missing kind of look, scrubby face and all, like, he didn't seem scary, if anything, like a homeless person, really. And so he stopped his bike and just started walking back towards me and was like, "Oh, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" Which you would think like, oh, how nice, right? But like, I knew that, no, he's approaching me because he thinks that now he's got a chance because I'm like in my weak emotional state or something, which is just really annoying. And not only he started talking to me, but he actually touched my bum, like just ever so slightly, but he definitely like touched me. And so my immediate reaction was just to slap his hand, of course, like, leave me alone, I'm all right, just go away, like, leave me alone. And he started walking away. So I thought, okay, that's it. I've been pretty direct. I don't want anything to do with you, don't touch me. And then suddenly he turned back, and you should have seen like the look on his face, like his eyes turned dark. The whole expression became so much more aggressive. And that's when I got scared. That's when I realized, like, okay, this guy, might not be tall or big or anything, but who knows, like he could have a knife on him. Or luckily I don't live in a country like most of the other listeners in the US where you also have to be scared of a gun, but a knife is bad enough. Or in fact, like, what if he overpowers me? Like, I'm still a girl. So I got really scared once I saw his face. He started coming back to me and he was shouting at me like, "Don't you dare hit me," like making it, like flipping it, like I started a fight or something. And I think even in his mind, he probably like started walking away, like obviously like this girl doesn't want to do anything with me, when he just sort of realized like, oh, she actually hit me, like, or slapped me. And that's a reason why now I can, go back and who knows what he wanted to do. Luckily at that moment when he started shouting at me, my ex-boyfriend, a boyfriend at the time, just arrived to the scene. He was shouting my name, and that scared the guy away. He then immediately just got back on his bike and went away. And just, luckily, my boyfriend realized that I've left the party, and I think he felt bad about his remark or whatever. So he came looking for me, thanks God, because I don't know what would have happened. It's ever since it's been playing in my mind, like, what if, because there was no one else there. So what if this guy managed to overpower me? What if he, suffocates me, throws me in the water? No one would ever find me. No one would know where I was. Where did I go? I don't even understand how my boyfriend at the time figured out like which way to go, because I could have gone lots of other ways, and I think to go to the canal was probably the most stupid one. So I don't know why he thought that I did go that way, but maybe it was some sort of instinct. I'm not in contact with him anymore, but I wish him all the best, because whatever happened between us, in the end of the day, I still feel like he has saved my life once a long time ago. And that guy who was cycling on the canal and was trying to help a lady in distress, let's not ever meet again.
Want more Disturbed? Check out our Patreon for member-exclusive content, early merch access, and other cool perks. I'm your host, Doug Bailey, and this has been Disturbed, a production of Killer Podcasts and part of the Evergreen Network. For more paranormal and true crime shows, visit killerpodcasts.com. Follow our social channels at Disturbed Podcast on Instagram or Disturbed_pod on Twitter. If you enjoyed the show, please consider subscribing and reviewing on your favorite listening platform. Share your own true horror story at disturbedpodcast.com. Music by Epidemic Sound and by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Our producer is Elizabeth Flood. Our sound designer and audio engineer is Nathan Corson. Executive producers Bridget Coyne and Noah Fouts. Until next time, stay safe out there.
Hi, I'm Jean Chatzky, host of Her Money, the podcast that understands women and our unique financial challenges. We earn less. We live longer. Our money has to go further, which is why we bring you the advice you really need from experts who get it. Want to know what's next for the stock market? We sat down with Wall Street pro Karen Feinerman to talk about the 2025 market landscape and how to invest with confidence. Looking for ways to cut your grocery budget while making easy, incredible meals at home? New York Times contributor Ali Slagle recently shared her favorite ways to create a capsule kitchen, just like a capsule wardrobe, and use 10 ingredients or less every time you cook. New episodes of Her Money are released every Wednesday with bonus episodes on Fridays. And if you haven't already, check out Her Money on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you like to listen.